So we have subsequently realised since recording the podcast you're about to listen to that almost 0% of the information we discuss is correct when we're talking about the film. We both decided to watch 2 or 3 films in very quick succession, and Thor: The Dark World was sadly at the beginning of the pile. And as such, the next hour or so you're about to listen to, there are numerous amounts of times where myself and Matt get many a detail wrong about the film, about Infinity Stones, about all sorts. And we can't apologise enough. But what we would like you to do is to pick out all of the moments that you hear during the next hour that are factually incorrect. Because we love being told when we're wrong. So drop us an email at don'tbeaheropodcast@gmail.com. Tell us where we fuck up and enjoy the next hour of the Don't Be a Hero podcast. We'll see you on the other side. Oh. So far this podcast, I have no operable AirPods. Matt has 0 charge on his phone. And there is a teeny tiny human by
We've
Matt.
got our first guest today in the podcast in history. It's Thea. It looks like. Do you want to say hello? Do you want to say it? Do you want to say hello? Oh, you just kissed me in the cheek. Okay, thank you. she's mute.
Yeah. At the moment, it sounds like me and Matt are just having like an imaginary friend who's a toddler.
She's on mute.
I say toddler. She's definitely not a toddler now, is she?
No, she's not. You want to say hello? Practically an adult now, aren't you? Say, I love Spider-Man. Say hello to this microphone. Say hello. I can't get it to say anything.
Hello.
Say hello. Come on, there.
Don't make any noise. It's really important that you're really, really quiet, okay? Don't yell or make any sounds.
This is high stakes because I just realised you've not got a microphone that's a headset anymore. So everything in that room is going straight through.
Oh. Wait, is that a bad thing?
No. We can hear H in the background as well. So Matt has his wife and his child in the room. His dedication to the podcast tonight is a solid 10 out of 10 straight off the bat there. Yeah.
I have literally abandoned all kind of evening plans to go straight into podcast mode.
You know what? This today is my anniversary. That is the stakes I am willing to go to for you.
Is it actually? Are you joking?
I mean, to be fair, Sophie has been out most of the evening, has just come back to a wonderful laid out card by me with some lovely words written on it. So she's been thoroughly entertained for the anniversary.
I mean, the fact that Sophie has allowed you to come and do this podcast tonight on your anniversary just goes to show how much of a keeper she is, mate.
Oh, absolutely. And to be honest, she knows where the vast income's going to come from in about 6 years. When this starts racking in the 50p, that is
in equal measure. She is dedicated to the cause. Equal measure.
Absolutely. Just
props to Sophie.
I'm old. That's it.
Well, happy anniversary, I guess. So good.
What are you drinking? Anything, Matt?
I'm on the sweet H2O, my friend. What are you on?
I've got something very special for tonight. Before I realised it was the Let's Not Give a Fuck episode. But
definitely feels like that's what it's going to become. But babe, you've disabled my phone now for a minute, and I need it for my notes. Okay, there we go. Sorry, carry on. Here we go.
So I have got lager spiced rum. Now, the thing with lager spiced rum is that me and Soph recently visited the sunny land of Dorset, and this was bought in Dorset. However, was it packaged in Dorset? Is it even a drink from Dorset? No. How it is from Devon, so
It is.
they're next door neighbours, and we're all right. So but I
Close enough.
Slightly worried that I was going to end up drinking, like, I don't know, from Nottingham or something. And I was, all right, brilliant, lovely. I've gone all that way to come back with a spice rum. It's 100 miles down the road, but no, we're all right.
How does it taste? How does it taste?
First test. Here we go.
Oh, we'll go. Oh wow! There you go, Theo. Num num num.
Oh, that, I tell you what, mate, that is a nice, very smooth. Getting smooth. I'm getting the spice. I'm not getting too much spice. They haven't been handsome on. I might have to. Let's drop it.
Throw a little bit more in. That's it.
A little bit more.
That's it, my friend. You go for that.
All right, let's have another.
Oh,
that is smooth. That is very vanilla-y smoothie. That is a little ice cream.
So that's made me really want some rum.
Oh, it's got. You look like you got your own issues without bringing alcohol.
I mean, help me, Forrest. She won't go to sleep.
Oh,
why won't you sleep? It's so hot. It's just because it's really hot, isn't it? It's just really hot.
It is. Yeah, we're currently going through a heat wave in the UK at the moment, and we are honest. I'm honestly feeling it, loving it. To be fair, at this
it's lovely.
Loving it. Give me 48 hours, and I'll be banging on the window naked when I can't get to sleep. That's what's in the next 48 hours is going to be happening. I don't know what banging on the window, but shit's a gig.
But we're definitely in summer now. Summer has most definitely arrived. Not with kind of subtlety. It's come in with full force. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. A ferocious summer evening or something.
Absolutely.
And do you know who else is pretty ferocious?
Me.
Yeah.
Thor 2. I'm being strangled right now. Thor 2. That's what we're talking about. Thank you.
The Dark World.
It's dark in a world, and it's Thor, and it's the second one.
Thor 2. We're on. We've made it to the Dark World of Phase 2, and yeah, I'm gonna get straight into it. So yet again, on film 2, we start as the first one did, with a Lord of the Rings-esque prologue. This time by our very own Odin. Gives us a little speech.
He gives actually quite a nice speech. Actually, I think it kind of sets it kind of a tone into this kind of, again, Shakespearean fantasy element. But I just really like hearing his voice, so I kind of couldn't complain at all about that beginning, because it was Anthony Hopkins. What a man! What a man!
Yes, yeah. I couldn't. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We hear all about the the ether. No, the ether. The ether.
The ether.
Ether, ether. One of them.
I'm having a wrestling match with with my daughter while we're doing this. This is one of the most on the fly podcasts we'll probably ever do, guys. All right, ever. all rules, all format and setups just gone.
And yeah,
It's
and
gone.
so much so that I've realised I've not even done a summary.
You haven't done a summary. We've done the drinks. You haven't done a summary. We haven't really spoken about what we were doing when date release of the movie.
Yeah, it's just straight in like a bull in a china shop. Oh, here we go. Oh wow!
Oh, she's picking my nose now.
I think this is.
What are you doing?
There's a lot of non-podcast content to this podcast. That's for sure.
That's for sure. This is exactly what the dear two listeners want to listen to.
Yeah. Bob from Belgium's having a whale of a time like this.
Right. Anybody out there with kids that also try and do things either like even like exercise, but even if you have your own podcast with children and they don't go to sleep at the time when you want them to, send us an email. Just let me know that I'm not alone. She is on form. Do you want to contribute to this podcast or not? Absolute tyrant.
Right.
She's literally stabbing my face, guys, just so you know.
I am gonna, for Thea's entertainment, I'm gonna put on the special voice and do the summary now.
Oh, let's do it. I want to hear it. Let's go.
Yeah, this bad boy. In ancient times, the gods of Asgard fought and won a war against an evil race known as the Dark Elves. The survivors were neutralized, and their ultimate weapon, the ether, was buried in a secret location. Hundreds of years later, Jane Foster finds the ether and becomes its host, forcing Thor to bring her to Asgard before Dark Elf Malekith captures her and uses the weapon to destroy the 9 realms, including Earth. And that's where it ends.
Oh, that's interesting. I thought you were going to carry on.
No, and it is Thor even meant? Oh yeah, Thor is mentioned once.
Once.
Just a lonely. No sign of Loki. No sign of Odin. Just Thor once.
That's interesting. It sounded good though. I liked it. I think it was dramatic. It sets a nice tone. It certainly does. I think Jane Foster obviously is kind of the main thread, the main focus in the movie. What are your initial thoughts? When was the last time you saw this before watching it for the podcast?
Must have been when it came out. I haven't seen this film for a long time.
Yeah, same. I mean, I can't remember the last time I watched it until obviously for the podcast. And it must have been when it first came out. And I do remember when it first came out, very much hating on it.
Yeah.
I really didn't like it. And I thought to myself, this was going to be a bit of a slog and I'm going to find all kinds of gripes. And I tell you what,
Ooh.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah?
I really enjoyed it. There's one main gripe, which doesn't kind of, it's not like the best one out there for sure, but I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. And what do you think?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think so I'm coming off the back of this having just finished Captain America. So we're both recording 2 podcasts back to back. So I've just finished Captain America, but I think with Thor there's a lot of science there, and it carries on in Captain America. There's like a lot to take in regards to Thor with the ether, and it's just a lot. Yeah, it's quite a lot to unpack in terms of the science, and unpack in terms of there's a lot mentioned that then comes back really later on in terms of phases, and we seem to be much more okay, we've established phase one, we've brought people in, you know, on a kind of basic level, I would argue, with certain superheroes, and now phase two, we're kind of getting like, oh yeah, okay, now we're going to shoot you a lot more of the comic stuff, we're going to shoot you a lot more lore, like we're going to shoot you like loads of science that you've got to kind of really listen to because it might only get mentioned once in passing, and then you've kind of got to you got to keep up with that. I do like the with this movie. I really like the change in location, like the moving about. I think is structured really nicely in this, and obviously going from the first Thor, one of my gripes certainly was the lack of civilization in Asgard and really understanding Asgard, and we
Absolutely.
massively redeem ourselves in this film in terms of getting to know the world of Asgard, the people of Asgard. We get our friend Sif a lot more, and other friends that we've met along the way. Heimdall finally appears in great detail. Still not a lot of detail, but enough detail. We see Heimdall plenty. So yes, I think I'm content by the film, and I think as I read the notes as we're talking, I'll remind myself more on specifics.
I think I may completely concur with everything you've just said there, because I think one of the best things about that film was seeing more of the world of Asgard and the events taking place in Asgard and the plot being within Asgard as well. So it was just really nice to see that, because you would have thought you would have had that in the first film, but for whatever reason, Kenneth Branagh wanted to go a different direction. I don't know, but this one in particular very much celebrates that world, and I think it's great. And you get to learn the characters a little bit better as well. But let's go back to that flashback with Anthony Hopkins. We'll go from there, mate.
Oh yes, yeah. So we find out about the power of the ether. We go into Odin's father, who led a war, King Bornis, led a war. Malekith unleashed the ether. Asgard ripped the power of the ether from him, and dark elves died. Asgard buried the ether. Yeah.
The line goes, "Bury it deep somewhere where no one will find it." And I put down, "I bet someone will find it."
Seems to be a lot of that, doesn't there? Because we get the old Tesseract is like, oh, put it somewhere no one will find it. Someone's instantly found it.
Someone's found that. That's definitely coming back, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's only 9 realms, so there's not actually that many places to put it, because eventually someone's going to find it. Yeah, so they massively find it. One-eyed Odin locked up Loki. Oh yeah, he's lost an eye at the beginning of the film, and Loki's in chains.
That's kind of not the only tie-in we have from New York. It is kind of referenced a few times, but like that comes. So this is set straight after Avengers Assemble, effectively. So we see Loki being shackled in the shackles that he and being chained up from where we left off in Avengers Assemble. And he's going to prison. He's been sent to prison. Poor Loki.
Yeah. And I think so instead of kind of traveling through the film, so if we think about Loki in prison, and for the majority of the film he remains in prison. Now, I don't know about you, and this is gonna be a very controversial opinion. Loki does not entertain me in this film.
I think that's because there wasn't enough of him in this movie.
Perhaps, maybe so. I find I am worried or feel that he is on the verge of being quite one-dimensional in this film, and by that I mean, so we'll talk about it later. But towards the end, when he is like he's shape-shifting all over the place, like he's tricking everyone, which may I add is his fundamental personality trait, is that he is a trickster, is that he Yeah, he absolutely tricks people. So I get, however, in this film, it is very much his arc in this film is just to piss a lot of people off a lot of the time in many different ways, and I'm kind of a bit like, and I feel like his sincere moments, or be it sincere moments, are I just lost for me. I just feel like actually I prefer Loki that we have now, which we kind of see a three-dimensional Loki a little bit more. We see a delicate side to Loki a bit more often. We see the loving side of Loki a bit more often. Like just the whole way through that. Yeah,
It's really interesting. I see what happens in the Loki series is that it is at this point where Loki's variant deviates in his timeline. So this is where the another version, a variant of Loki, takes over from the different kind of moment of the Tesseract grabs Tesseract as they kind of go to leave, and it kind of then they kind of go into the Loki series. Spoiler, by the way, if you haven't seen that bit. But yeah, I think you're right, but I do wonder whether that's just because there might not be enough of him. I would be interested to have seen a extended version of it, maybe.
Yeah, an extended version would be interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, we see Loki being put to prison. There's harsh words from Odin as well. He's a bit harsh in terms of the way his sentence is to Loki. But we get to spend more time in Asgard, and obviously we see Thor and his merry band of friends are on the battlefield. This is the first time we see Thor in the movie. They're having a little fight. They're taking out. They're just doing it. Like it's kind of what it feels like is that we've kind of moved straight into kind of like, okay, Odin. As much as there was a big kind of thing happening in New York, when Thor goes back to Asgard, he's got duties. He's got things that he needs to do, and this is one of his duties.
He's going straight back into like protecting the Nine Realms. Like he's a bit of a savior at this point, and he's got to go in and be like keep the peace. That's basically what he's doing. There's been a lot of, whether it's New York, whether it's what Loki's been up to, there's just been a lot of issues going on, and Thor has got to calm it down, lower the heat, and say, look, guys, let's all just get on with each other. I'm just going to hit these bugs with a fuck off hammer. And I'm just going to come off this land. And we're all going to negotiate and just get on like a house on fire. All right? It's just as simple as that. Yeah? All right? A couple of things have been hidden in the deep dark depths of Asgard. But we're just going to not worry about that too much. All right? Odin's talking about it to the people who are listening to a movie that I might or might not be involved in. But let's just keep the pace.
What I love in that sequence is Thor absolutely uppercutting with Mjolnir, with what can I only think is it must be a descendant of Korg, because it's a massive rock giant.
Yes.
It must be. Imagine if it's his dad. What a plot twist that would have been. There's a moment at the end where they celebrate. They go back to Asgard to celebrate death after their fight. It's very Viking-esque, isn't it? Big meals, there's women, and there's celebrations, and there's music, and yet you still see a melancholy Thor outside the party, brooding over Jane Foster still, and in comes Lady Sif. Now, again, I'm going to say this every single time Lady Sif is in a movie. There is not enough Lady Sif in any MCU movie. It is a crime. It is a crime.
Now, if anyone...
K-Dog, Kevin, K-Dog, are you listening? You need to listen up. Listen up, K-Dog. Hey. We need more Lady Sif. thanks, goodbye from all of the MCU community, because I know I'm not alone on this one. Cheers, K-Dog. Love you. Yeah. You know what I mean?
She needs her own TV. She needs her own TV series, right?
She does.
Let's not give massive characters TV series so they get hid away on Disney Plus. Let's give Sif a series, because then you'll go, oh, I really like that character. I'd like to explore more about them. Boom. Disney Plus. Boom. Play button. Boom. I don't know why I'm carrying this on. Boom. Let's start. Then we see my favourite cameo thus far is Chris O'Dowd, Mr. IT Crowd.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Who is dating?
He's lovely in this.
He is lovely. He dates Jane Foster. They don't have food. She doesn't talk to him, and she talks about a guy she used to, still does love, interested in, whatever you want to call it. So he has an incredibly piss poor date, but he's a lovely bloke. It is kind of up there with Ty Burrell's cameo, and it's very similar cameo in Incredible Hulk.
Both in famous TV series.
Yeah.
Long standard ones at that.
Comedians, sitcoms,
Yeah, absolutely. That's very, it's very fair. It's kind of like an almost British kind of equivalent. Of that.
And he's palmed off because of the partner. It's just very, very similar.
And like, you don't hate on either of them. Especially, Ty Burrell's character, you don't hate on him. You don't hate on Chris O'Dowd at all.
Also, this is number 2 of the phase. Incredible Hulk was number 2 of the first phase.
Hello, Forrest. You've just cracked open a lovely little Easter egg there, my friend.
I've just opened it. I've just cracked this case wide open. Okay. Oh my God. That's a tasty little Incredible Hulk tidbit.
That was honestly, mate. No, I'm impressed. I've never heard of that.
I did that. And
that was great.
I'm well happy with that.
My brother. That's what happens when you do these podcasts. Your wisdom is just expanding.
Darcy turns up, crashes the date.
Love her, absolutely love her. She's so good.
Absolutely love a bit of Darcy. And straight, we're just gonna bash through Eric Selvig naked at Stonehenge. Weirdest thing I've ever seen. Absolutely comes left field out of nowhere. I
need to do a secondary character shout out to my man Sam Swainsbury, who is the interviewer in that scene. And he's a brilliant actor. He's a brilliant actor. Also, he played. I think he's an ITV interviewer during that bit. And
yes, and I have a question. I would like our fans to answer the question. Right, I quite like it. It's different. ITV News. Why? Because normally, having Marvel being so American and it clearly mostly an American film, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and normally the BBC is used for moments like that, right?
That's very true.
They're the British broadcaster. So I would love to know, and it's got to be a reason, because why wouldn't they? They would always go for BBC unless it was a British TV series, for instance, that might use like Channel 4. So why did they use ITV News, not BBC News? And they use it twice during the film as well.
That's if anybody, if you know that, any kind of information about it, do let us know, because I'm genuinely interested. Because there's got to be something to do with kind of either shooting in London, shooting around or nearby to where ITV studios are. No idea, but I'd like to know.
I would. Truck can be moved by touch, floating in air.
Oh yeah. That kind of floaty bit. It was. Do you know what was really interesting? Is when that bit happened, when I first watched it, I had no idea what the heck was going on.
No. Yeah. It was very strange moment. And
the portal isn't kind of established until much later within that scene, but like it's cool. Like it's really cool. It's a really cool moment. But I do remember when they went to investigate it, and then it was just like it's kind of floating upside down lorry. I was thinking like, oh, what's going on? But now with all the multiversal kind of like knowledge we have, our eyes have been opened up to the multiverse. You kind of go, yeah, it's just a floating lorry, mate. Psh, fine.
Yeah, fucking what?
Fine.
What? Who cares, mate? It's the only thing with that, so that building was in Greenwich, weren't it?
Yeah.
They were in Greenwich during that time. Now, I don't know much about London, apart from the fact that it is probably the most populated place in the United Kingdom, right? Or one of the top three.
Greenwich is busy.
And like, Greenwich is massively big. So I'm not being funny, but if that's been there for quite a long time, hundreds of years, right? I would say that fair few people might have encountered that little part of the world, and that actually it wouldn't have taken hundreds of years for the ether to have been unearthed, especially as Jane enters the whole realm of it just by walking through a little door passage. Just by walking through a door passage, and half the world is missing. So it was a little bit far-fetched that no one would have, quite travelled to that part of the world. Yeah. Stick it in Norfolk. I believe it. Put it in Norfolk, yeah.
Stick it in Norfolk.
It's like... just anywhere, like, with a really good farmer accent would be amazing. They're there and they're okay. Hey, Jane, this is a set time you've been on my bloody farm this week. All right, Jane, I'm sick and tired of you showing up doing all your sciencey shit. Okay, get off. All right, just because me tractor's upside down, left and right centre, get off my land.
Right. Derek has done it again. What? The tractor is upside down again. Oh, bloody hell. What are we going to do?
I took one boot off, Derek. Chucked it in the air and it disappeared. Derek. This is absolute multitude of accents going on down here.
Oh, dear. Oh, we need a dialect coach.
Jane goes in. So one thing I did think about this whole scene and Jane going in on her own, and it was very intense. They layered. It was quite, it was quite a quiet scene. It was a little bit like, ooh, what's going on here? It was a nice bit of atmosphere, I thought.
What I got from the moment the ether was kind of exposed, and and even the floaty bit, but they're like when it gives me Stranger Things kind of vibes, and I wonder if actually I'm genuinely interested to know if anybody else listening, when you watch Thor 2, you also get Stranger Things vibes through kind of how the ether works, how it kind of manipulated Jane Foster through the film, but also in particular that scene that we're talking about with the floating lorry and the portal hole, all of those kind of things that are explored within the narrative of Stranger Things. So I got that kind of feeling with it, and I wonder whether the is it Duffer Brothers that make Stranger Things, whether they got inspiration from this film, seeing that. I don't know, maybe not, but we'll see. If that's correct or not, someone tell me.
So at this point, we find out. Well, we eventually find out that Jane has a bit of ether inside of her, because we find out that it is one of the stones, the relics. It's one of the many relics, but it is a fluid as opposed to a stone, and this fluid has found its way inside of Jane.
Yes, it's and you know what's funny is that, and this is no spoilers whatsoever, but recently Thor: Love and Thunder has come out, and we have the mighty Thor, played by obviously Natalie Portman as Jane Foster, or Jane Fonda, as I think Cork calls it, which I think was very funny. But I wonder whether the ether has anything to do with the rest of her arc moving into Thor: Love and Thunder. Now, me and Forrest have seen it last week, so we know the answer to that. But if you haven't seen it, I do recommend actually watching this film before you go into Thor 4. Don't worry too much about Thor 3. If you've seen it and you know what's going on, fine, great. If you haven't seen it, do watch it. But I think just recap on this film before you go into Thor: Love and Thunder, just because again, you just kind of get more of a recapture on the narrative of Jane Foster, because she's not in the third one at all. So yeah, I found that quite interesting. I wondered whether that was going to come into play for the fourth one.
Yeah. Yes. We eventually get to a sad demise, Matt. We have a sad death in this film. The Dark Elves find their way into Asgard, and they just go wild. They absolutely fuck shit up in Asgard, to the point where a Dark Elf kills Thor's mum.
Frigga.
Frigga's dead.
Which is sad. So what happens here, that when Jane Foster has the ether, Thor takes her immediately back to Asgard. They try and mend her. They try and sort out what's going on. Odin's like, "Why have you brought a mortal into Asgard? What are you doing? I'm an angry god." And Frigga's like, "Yo, man, it's cool. I was raised by witches. Come, I'll take care of you, Jane Foster. We'll figure it out through my witchiness." And then we have the Dark Elves break through their kind of invisible kind of cloak, and they get through the Bifrost. And unfortunately, Frigga kind of takes the hit. And Thor just misses out, doesn't he? Because he sees it happen as he's running towards. And he sees the knife going in, and he kind of decks the killer with his hammer, and it's like catapults them all the way out, with it coming back. And it's sad. It's a sad death. I again would have been nice to have had more Frigga time, but I know there's not a lot of time for a movie, so what about another What If kind of series? And in the What If series, we have a bit of a Frigga moment. I put that out there.
We'll get a bit of Frigga for Frigga.
A bit of Freaky Frigga.
Oh, Frigga. Frigga on a Freaky Friday. Ooh.
Oh, I'm wondering if there's any fan fiction about that.
Oh, man, I bet there is. I bet there damn is. I can't wait. Freaky Frigga. Oh, yeah. Frigga and Odin getting their little Greek tragedy on.
Good look.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and then Frigga says, take that cloth off of me.
Oh my god! But to be fair, she actually does have a fair bit of screen time compared to what she got in the first one. She does have that scene with Loki before she does die, where she kind of like consoles with Loki, and you can see as well. And this is again with the small kind of appearance you get with Loki in this film. You do get to see a really good performance of Tom Hiddleston there, because you can see that he's really conflicted about being in prison, but equally you can see that he loves his mother, and that's the closest relationship that he has with anybody in Asgard. And the moment, and what I really love, is the moment where Thor goes to Loki in prison and tells Loki about Frigga's death. I think that's what happens, isn't it? Or does he already know? I can't remember now. I feel like
yes.
How does Loki find out? It is through Thor.
Yeah. Loki. Yeah. I mean, it must be. It must be. Thor sees Loki, and then because this is a point where Loki is looking proper rough in prison, even though in the scheme of the film he's been in there for about a day.
Yeah, that's it. And he kind of reveals himself, doesn't he? Of how disheveled he is.
But then I'm like, has he revealed himself, or has he gone from what was actually him to a fake him? Just to
Oh,
make.
you think that's a double bluff? You think he's double bluffing?
I think so. He's been in it for a day. No, he's like there's stuff all over the place. He's got his hair down. I'm like, really,
I think a
Loki.
little bit more. I think a little bit more time's passed. I think that was one. That was one of my gripes actually. From the point of Frigga's death to Frigga being buried, being sent to the to Valhalla. I was like, that almost felt quite instantaneous. Where I think there was a time jump there.
Yeah.
Because in order for that news to hit Loki and to be into that state, I don't know. Now again, that's something that my memory is now telling me that I feel like he didn't immediately find himself disheveled. Like he was fine before she was dead, and then when he found out she was dead, then he was like, screw everything, I'm gonna break my chair, my one bed, my little things that I have in my space. And then
because it also is like at this point Thor almost completely disregards the worry of his mum. He's like, oh, hang on a minute, don't worry about that. This human that I've known for all but 10 minutes, I need to concentrate on getting her off world and making sure Loki's on board with it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And it was at that point as well when Thor goes to Loki before he kind of breaks him out. I completely forgot that Loki was locked up. Like I was like, oh yeah, of course he's there. Oh yeah, he's still hanging around in there even after the the breakout of the prisons. But he teams up with them, doesn't he? He basically was like, look, we got to go get this guy because these people have killed our mom, and you and me and brother, we got to go up, we got to go get those guys, and we're gonna go and kill them. And he's like, yeah, fine, okay, but do I trust you? No, I don't. He said, you should trust me because I'm your brother. Do I trust you? I don't think I trust you. Maybe you shouldn't trust me. I wouldn't trust me either. But let's go. And then they go.
And that during that part is the most incredible part where Loki like mimics lots of different people, including Captain America.
It's so good.
Which is insanely like he's like, would you trust me if I was one of your Avenger friends? And then it's a stroke of genius. I loved a bit of that. Odin.
I remember doing a real big kind of scream after when I saw that for the first time. I was like, oh my god. But yeah, anyway, carry on. Yes.
A real scream.
a
real hoot of a moment. Stop Thor by any means necessary, says Odin. So Odin is deeply against Thor's plan. Thor flies a dark elf ship, which is mildly funny when he can't turn on the ship. Loki just spends the next 10 minutes antagonising the holy hell out of Thor, which I quite like. I quite like that moment. That's quite nice. And like you say, maybe it is because most of this film, Loki's just in prison, which is why I don't quite like it. Because when he's out of prison, it gets a little bit better. Darcy and Ian help Selvig out of prison. So Ian, we haven't spoken about. Ian is Darcy's apprentice.
Oh yeah,
he's the
intern.
Yeah, a little bit of a shit character. I got to be honest.
Wasn't needed, mate.
No, and it almost feels like they wrote him in. They got him on set, and the director went, "Oh, for fuck's sake, what's it? Oh, have we paid his agent already? Oh, we have. Okay.
Yeah.
Could you just walk over, do a silly thing with a science prop, and then walk off? Yeah, cheers, mate. Yeah, it was very. Just have Darcy. Darcy is good enough, just being Darcy. And
it's very true.
It just and they had the thing at the end where they have a kiss, don't they? And it's like, this isn't. Why does Darcy need a love moment? Doesn't need a love moment. Darcy's quality on her own, mate.
That's so true. It really served nothing, really.
No. Absolutely not. Very, very bizarre to write him, shoehorn him in. Unless, like you say, if there's an extended version of the film, maybe he is used at a pivotal moment that they had to take out. But even then, Christ alive. Meeting with the Dark Elves, Jane's eyes keep doing weird shit. What the fuck? So this must. That's exactly what I wrote. This must be the ether inside of Jane, and she has like weird eyes during the ship part. Do you remember?
It kind of takes over a little bit.
Yeah.
It's all kind of relevant to Stranger Things, like the fact that they were like, we need to go to the ether where it is, follow the black kind of the smoky, misty thing, cloudy thing that it is, so it can take the ether that's in her out, and I like that sequence, by the way, the fact they went from the boat and they kind of like Thor punches him, doesn't he? Kicks him off the boat, and I was like, oh my god, he's killed Loki. What the hell? And he's like, oh no, he's like
the ship.
He's on the
boat. It's like a plane, basically.
It's a boat.
Is it?
It's a tiny little boat, isn't it? It's not a ship, mate.
Hang on. What are you on about a boat? It's not. It's a plane. It flies.
Well, it's like a flying boat, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Flying boat. Yeah, I'll take flying boat. I mean, I'm not quite sure what it's closed on four sides, so I'm not quite sure what compares it to a boat, but absolutely. So let's look that up later. So and then he kicks him off. He kicks him off the boat, ship, plane, train, and Loki stabs Thor.
He does, and then he kind of like goes under the hill.
They have a whole fight, have a whole argument, and Loki very dramatically stabs Thor. Loki cuts his hand off. So at the stab, I'd forgotten this whole thing. I've got to be honest, I've forgotten a lot of this film. So at the moment he stabbed for Thor, I literally thought, oh wow, I can't remember that happening. As soon as the hand came off, I was like, okay, this is some serious, like, not happening stuff going on right now. But yeah, he chops his hand off. Elf lifts up Jane and takes the ether from her. And then I wrote, it was all a trick. Mwahahahahaha.
Yeah. It was, again, it all kind of felt quite pointless. And this is the other thing. We have barely mentioned Malekith, like the main antagonist in this. Like, there is literally zero threat.
Yeah.
Like, no threat whatsoever. Like, there is no... He literally doesn't even need to be there. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the ether, it's this thing that they want that's going to bring back life to the Dark Elves. They're just kind of like, yeah, we just want this. We just want that. We can go. And it's like there's no conflict.
No,
really.
But I think it is because the overarching story is here's another Infinity Stone, isn't it? So it's just like we're just
eventually,
like, I think we just kind of they were like, right, how do we get this Infinity Stone from A to B? And sadly, Malekith was kind of the very last thing to be thought about.
But that's not revealed until much, much later.
No,
when I say much, much later, I mean in the end credits, mate. So half your audience in the cinema probably would have left by that time.
Yeah.
It's really. I wonder whether they should have placed the kind of Infinity Stones, the kind of the stakes of the Infinity Stones within it. Within the plot a little bit more, and then had those kind of moments like Odin maybe could have went, oh yeah, these Infinity Stones, and that the ether is part of the Soul Stone. Like they could have, I don't know, maybe they should have revealed that within the plot just to heighten the stakes a little bit, potentially, because there was no threat. Malekith, mate, and this is the other thing. There is, I think we put a tweet out, not a tweet, a Instagram message about the worst MCU villain of all time, and I think Malekith actually is one of them. It's actually rated as one of being the worst MCU villains within the current movies that we have.
Yeah.
And I can't, I can't disagree with that.
No.
It's not, and this is I say that really difficultly because I really enjoy Christopher Eccleston as an actor, and I think he has done some really awesome performances. I think to be fair, I quite liked him as Doctor Who, but he's also done some really good stuff on like BBC and all that kind of stuff, dramas. You name it, he's done loads. This was a pants performance.
Yeah.
Like, it was just, there was nothing to the character.
Yeah.
It just didn't work. It didn't work. They needed. This is the thing. He should have killed Ian. Malekith should have literally murdered Ian within those first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Heighten the stakes. Give us some threat.
We needed a death. I need some death on my hands. I did think that's the fight scene at this point is a good one. Like, I genuinely didn't know what was going to happen, but likewise with the threat, you've literally only got Loki and Thor. So it's literally like, okay, one of them could go, won't go. We know they won't go. At the time of watching the film, they could have gone, but yeah, the stakes were like, what? And then Loki killed again, but not killed again. And then we have the fight. Loki gets killed whilst killing the monster thing. I don't know if they have a name for the proper big monster that they inject with ether themselves. So he kind of goes.
Oh, at the end, that Malekith kind of shapes into.
No,
what are you talking about? What
it's not Malekith, is it? Isn't it like it's the one with the horns that goes on to planet Earth, he goes onto the Earth, doesn't he? Or am I thinking of Malekith? Maybe I am.
I mean, again, I watched this movie. To be fair, I watched this movie a week ago, so my memory has gone. But I'm now, right, what I'm doing, dear two listeners, I'm going back and I'm going to find out. I'm literally going to find out. But they, as Loki has his death, they find that portal back, don't they, quite easily?
Yeah. Portal back. The ship arrives into Greenwich, and there is just civvies everywhere. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
The ship. To be fair, at this point, I've called it the ship. Ship, boat, plane arrives into Greenwich. Civvies everywhere, and then because what we haven't called it is its actual name. The thing where things disappear is the convergence, Matt.
The convergence, absolutely. And I put down in my notes that the convergence wasn't needed at all. And I know it was a plot that served Darcy and Dr. Eric Selvig, but I think the ether as a threat in its own right was enough. But I can see why they did it. Yeah, so he kind of they try and stop the convergence happening. And what is it? Is it kind of, it's like once in a millennia, isn't it? Like all these moons align and, darkness can fall upon the earth if it comes into the wrong hands, basically.
Yeah. So, yeah. And this is kind of what I meant right at the beginning when I was saying how there's just a lot of science. So there's a lot of words, a lot of things, it's very layered, and to a regular bloke like me, I got confused quite quickly. I'm not gonna lie, but it's fun watching it all happen and kick off. But yes, it does get very confusing. Shout out to the bloke not moving because So one of my favourite moments with the civvies is that everything's kicking off outside. And then all of the buildings around are being told to evacuate. And then there's this bloke that goes, I'm not moving. Thor's outside doing things with his hammer and he's recording on his phone. And I was like, yeah, you go, man. You go back. Because you so know that would happen, right? People would just be like, well, I'm not moving anywhere. People are dying left, right and centre, but Thor's outside with his magic hammer.
That is an absolute. That is the dude that represents this podcast.
Yeah, that's it. He's not being a hero. He's
No.
inside recording on his phone, the safety of a wall in front of him, but he's not moving because
No.
he knows essentially he's going to be racking the holy hell out of those likes on Instagram.
Oh, 100%. He's like, that's going viral immediately.
Oh mate, he's like, let me hop on a live. Hello guys, check this fucking shit out. Thor, here he is. He's got his little hammer. Oh, so yeah, he's bless him. That's fun. Ian saves Darcy's life, and they kiss. Hammer goes past, and yes, you're this. I thought of you at this point, Matt.
Yep.
Because Darcy says Mew Mew.
Yes.
Mew Mew.
Mom, Mew Mew, Mew Mew. Ah, such a brilliant line. It's so good.
So yeah, the hammer goes past Darcy, and she says that. Definitely thought of you. Then we get Thor on the tube. He's stood on the tube for absolutely no reason whatsoever. I thought Malkeith's demise was drawn out a little bit. I think
It went on for a bit long.
At this point, this whole scene is just a little bit like, yeah, okay, all right.
And the whole portal thing was used against him, so his big ship kind of he got through the portal, so it ended up back on the planet that Malekith then got kind of like kicked off into, and it fell upon him instead of Thor and Jane. Jane did a bit of a Captain America situation where she dived on top of Thor to sort of protect him from this ship coming down on him. But yeah, then it literally ended. That was it.
Dropped down.
And then I literally think the next scene was them then sitting around a table having breakfast.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Thor's gone for 2 days. Thor. Oh yeah, no. We get the last scene. Thor can't take the King of Asgard because who's playing Odin? Yeah, because just before this we see Loki, or we don't see Loki. We see this guard having, but we kind of get the shape shifting like visual effect, and then we see the guard, so we know that this guard straight off the bat isn't who he seems. And then he goes up to Odin, and he basically says, "Oh, someone's fallen." And then Odin says, "Is it Thor?" He's like, "No, but there was a body." And Odin's like, "Was it Loki?" And then Loki, as the guard, gives him a cheeky little side eye.
And then it kind of the main film finishes there. Then we go into our kind of end credits, and this is the thing. Phase 2 kind of really goes to town on the end credits. We have a mid-credit scene and an end credit scene. So what happens in the mid-credit scene, my friend? Because it leans into your favorite movie of all time.
Yes, it does. Because we meet the Collector. And it's not the mid-credit scene that I thought it was. Because as soon as we see the Collector, I thought we were getting Howard the Duck. But this isn't the one where we see Howard, is it?
No, it's not.
We see him in another one, like maybe the one in Guardians. It probably is, actually. But yes, we see Sif. And who else do we see? Who's next to Sif? Sif and
I want to say Gimli. It's the Gimli equivalent.
It's very
like
much
a big Gimli.
The Gimli equivalent. They rock up to the Collector, and this is how we hear, because they want to store the ether. So they have the ether, and they're like, "Look, last time we tried to hide this, it didn't go too well. So we want to give it to you and make sure it doesn't end up in the wrong hands. All right? Okay?" And then we hear at this point that, they tell him that the Tesseract is on Asgard. So they can't have two of these things together. on Asgard. So they have to move the. They don't. They want to hide another Infinity Stone, so they want to hide the Soul Stone. So at this point, we find out that this is the stone, right? Because up to now we've just known it as the Ether. And then the Collector kind of goes, whoa, I've got one of them now. Whoa. He doesn't do that. He just looks very menacing at the Sif and Gimli leaving, trotting off. And then there you go. The Collector's got one of the Infinity Stones. And then we go to the end credit scene, which is probably the weakest credit scene since Captain America, I would say.
It is. So basically, it literally is Jane in her flat. Then here's Thor come in, kisses Thor, the end. And what we see is basically Thor's gone, I don't want to be king. I want to go be with my girlfriend. Hey. And that's what he and that, to be fair, props to him. That's what he chooses, and that's what he sticks to. So, and that's literally it. And that's where we go, okay, that's where Thor is then. All right, fine. We'll see you at some point.
It's back on Earth.
And that's it. Well, that's it. We don't see Thor again until Ultron, I don't think.
Age of Ultron. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's it. So I in conclusion, my friend, we haven't done this in this a while. How many quavers are you gonna give it?
I'll give it half a bag. Half a bag of quavers. I think.
Yeah.
It's a kind of, it's one of those glass half full, glass half empty, right?
Yeah.
So each way you look at it, I'd say glass half full. There was some good Asgardian scenes in there. It was nice drama. There was like we understand Thor a lot more, I think, coming out of this movie. We get nice little sparks of Loki. We get a really good setup with the Infinity Stones. We get a good kind of idea moving forward, some additional sciencey bits, and good set pieces, and overall good location changes. Glass half empty, like you say, piss poor villain. I think drags on in places where it doesn't need. I think honestly, this movie's not even that long, but I think it could actually be shorter.
Yep, I agree. And I think there were certain sequences that you could have shortened a little bit and maybe kind of had more Frigga moments, maybe more Loki moments for me personally. Yes. Yeah, half bag, mate. I totally agree.
Give it a half bag. Definitely not a poor one. But not one that I'm gonna absolutely race to go and rewatch again.
Well, I've got myself what might have been a deleted scene. Which is a bit of fan fiction. Do you want me to read it out to you?
I think we've only done this once before, but by God, is this my favourite segment we've ever added. So I'm going to mute myself, and I'm going to absolutely divulge what you feed into my glorious face.
Okay, all right, my friend. Okay, so this is on fanfiction.net. As you know, team, we will leave the links on our episode here. It should be somewhere in the bio, whatever streaming network you are listening to the podcast to. But this is by somebody called hester-m, and it's called 5 Times Loki Interrupted Thor's Night. Thor awakens abruptly in the dead of night. For a moment, he wonders what has woken him from slumber, thinking woefully of the wonderful dream he had had, when something small and sharp pokes him in the ribs. He grunts in pain. Then he rolls over to see a figure crouching on his bed. His face is hidden in the shadows of the room, but Thor can still see the raven hair and jaded eyes that glint in the darkness. There is no mistaking who that figure is. Loki, Thor grumbles, sounding a little petulant, but too tired to care all that much. What are you doing? Loki's eyes dart around the room as if checking intruders are hiding in the shadows before he leans down to whisper in Thor's ear. I had a nightmare, Thor. Thor sighs, his little brother being plagued with bad dreams for as long as he can remember. Once Loki would simply knock on his parents' bedroom door and allow Frigga to sing him to sleep again. Now he comes to Thor. Thor had once spoken of his mother, but he had scolded him for his selfishness and given him a look so cold Thor hadn't even argued back, instead choosing to escape the weight of her judgmental gaze and find his brother. Come then, get in, Thor says, tugging at the sheets. Loki moves off the bed to let Thor draw back the heavy blankets, then climbs in and settles himself on his back, his eyes wide open and staring at the high ceiling above. Thor knows he will make no move to come closer unless Thor initiates it. So he jabs Loki in his side until he turns to face him. Thor puts his arm round Loki's waist, rubbing soothing circles on his brother's back, and closes his eyes. He doesn't stop his stroking until he hears Loki's breath slowing, feels the puff of air against his face until, after longer intervals, he lets himself fall back into a peaceful sleep, hopeful of returning that dream he had been having. It had been such a good dream. That's it.
Honestly, that's taken me on an absolute journey. That
was a bit of a journey, that one, wasn't it?
That was honestly very lovely wording there. It's really,
it's well written.
Very much. Like that is, I can see it happening in front of me. I can see, Tom Hiddleston, Chris Hemsworth.
This is under the genre of angst romance.
Romance.
But yeah, there you go.
I do you know what? I really like it, because it's much more subtle and less in your face than the last one. I've got.
I'll be honest, mate. Yeah,
that was something.
Went hard on that first one. If you haven't listened to the podcast of Iron Man 3, do make sure you do, because yes, the fan fiction at the end of that episode is, well, you've got to listen for it for yourself.
So the one that you've just read out, has that got a next chapter to it, or is that just a one-off piece?
No, it does, mate. It does.
Because I can imagine
it does carry on.
That will eventually go to some pretty naughty places. I don't think.
Oh yeah.
I think what you've done there is you've absolutely found the easiest chapter to read there. That is what you.
I won, mate. I'm sipping through it right now. I 100% have chosen the right chapter.
Yeah, no, we don't need to go any. No, we don't have to.
Do you want the last few lines of the last chapter?
I think the listeners deserve it, quite frankly, after the delicate nature of what came before.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Loki's eyes are closed, though Thor knows he is not asleep. The moonlight spills over his pale form, highlighting the sharp angles of his face, soft and relaxed, as they only ever are in repose. It's so Shakespearean. He is quite beautiful. Brother, Hush, Thor, Loki says. I know. There you go.
Oh, this is, honestly, it kind of feels like Kenneth Branagh wrote it himself. I'll be honest. He just went, well, Marvel wouldn't let me really go to town quite as much as I like to on a film, so let me just pop a little bit of fan fiction up.
I feel like the last writer of Iron Man 3 in the fan fiction needs to take a leaf out of this book here.
Tease your reader. You don't have to give all of the bagel. You just tease the bagel. Tease a little bit of the bagel. Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, thank you.
Right,
That's
that's it,
awesome.
yeah.
I think we have to bow out after such a gorgeous moment. But yes, I think half a bag of quavers. We like Thor, the Dark World, and next week we have got Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
Oh, I cannot wait. Yes.
We'll see you on the flippity flip.
Take care.